My name is Mike Shepard. I'm a producer. I want to get to know the artists in my new community. This is 1,000 Meals with 1,000 Artists.
How did you get here and where did you come from? Tell me where you've been and where you're going.
Hi there, my name is Angelo Leo, and I am a music entrepreneur in Ottawa.
This week, my meal is with Angelo. Angelo's an artist that I actually met just over 2 years ago when I first arrived here in Ottawa. He was working with Youth Ottawa on something called the Youth Mentorship Program. And I think what really was interesting about Angelo is I saw from the beginning that he and I had a lot in common in terms of the kind of producing artist we were. He's a musician. He's a music producer. He works with these kinds of programs when it comes to workshops and setting up young artists with more mature artists who have been doing this for a long time and sort of connects the two together. And I think he's someone who has an entrepreneurial spirit. He creates a lot of his own stuff. He's now involved in film and he's doing all these multiple things, which is something that I can definitely relate to. It was really nice to catch up to Angelo. We hadn't really been able to connect a lot over the past 2 years. He's been very busy. I've been very busy. But it was really nice because he heard me talk about Soul One when it was first formed and it really didn't have much of an identity yet. We didn't really know where things were with the organization for about a year. We didn't really do much with it, but it was registered and ready to go. So it was really nice to connect with someone who had that knowledge and now 2 years later can see what Soul One is working on. I hope you enjoy our chat. I really liked reconnecting with Angelo. It was really interesting with his work with music and music production. We talk a bit about the Ottawa music scene, obviously, and all the various projects he now has on the go. So enjoy our chat. It was really nice to reconnect with Angelo, and I'm sure many of you listening have heard his name in the Ottawa music scene for years. Yeah, you and I have been meaning to reconnect because we first met a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Youth Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were just wrapping up a youth mentorship program with artists. So just tell me what's happened since then. Like I know you're a big time music producer, but like what have you been up to?
No, nothing that way. Just funny enough, when I left Youth Ottawa, I started doing a project coordination for another company or another nonprofit. It was actually what was it? Cafe, I guess it was the Canadian Association of Fairs and Exhibitions.
Okay.
So I was working pretty much directly with different festivals in Canada. So I was working federally. So I was helping out with like the Calgary Stampede and everything that way, helping out in like different sections of their like programming. I was actually specifically tasked to like take care of their like best practices for animal care program.
Okay.
And stuff like that. And I would help out trying to organize those in like every single part of the country. And yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, I was taking care of about $2.4 million worth of project.
How did you find that job after you thought, or like, did you stumble upon it? Did you know someone? Or?
So, to be honest, I just saw it on like the threads of people because
really,
yeah, literally, it was just one of those weird things. And it was a tentative thing, so I was only supposed to be like there for a year or whatever, but they were trying to hire me for indefinite whatever.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, the person like, for better words, like they were there, but they were a mat leave, so you didn't know how long, kind of thing. At least at the time, they were telling me that I was going to be there until November. Long story short, without picking them apart, basically me and every other program coordinator unfortunately lost their jobs in June of that year, of last year, because they unfortunately went through a huge amount of they went through 7 program coordinators. They went through 7 executive directors in like 7 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, nothing against them. They were all great people, but it was just one of those unfortunate things that nobody could have predicted.
No.
And because their executive director and their program coordinator, they both went on mat leave around the same time. So there was nobody there to like steadily keep things going. So with no fault of anybody's, it's just unfortunately I lost my job in June of last year. And then my partner was actually the person that told me, because I was always doing music on the side as like a little bit of extra, like I had a bit of extra bands and everything that I would put into residencies everywhere. And at that time, I was actually still playing across the street at Apothecary.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, but it was just like a small thing. I would play there twice a month, whatever.
Okay.
And it was my partner that said to me, she said, "Why don't you try doing this full time? Just try it. If it doesn't, try 2 months. If it doesn't work, go back to try and find another job. You're on AI, whatever. Go for it." So I said, "Okay." You're in 2 months later.
Here you are.
Yeah, here I am. I've been doing music consulting basically full time. So I'm a music consultant. So what that means is like I basically what every other consultant would do, I just do it more through the lens of like the music scene and the art scene in general. So but for me, what that does is I go into a restaurant, I talk to them and say, what do you want as an ROI for an event that you want to hold here? Do you want to hold events here? Do you want to have musicians kind of like in here doing certain things? What kind of events do you want, etc. And basically, even though it's a loaded question, it's a pretty substantial question that needs to be told. Because what I do is I go, okay, how much do you want as an ROI for an event? As an example, let's say we put on a because this is an example I'm doing is a Bridgerton themed event.
Yeah.
I said, what do you want as an ROI? They go, we want like I don't know, somewhere around 15 to 2K.
Right.
I said, okay, cool, I can make that happen. How much would you pay the musicians? And they go, well, we could pay them through this kind of way. So basically, we could pay them through them selling a drink.
Right.
And then all the drink costs, I would just pay the difference, and then the rest of the money would go to the musicians. So that can be somewhere around like $1,000, $500, whatever it is. But that goes to the musicians.
Okay.
So that's how I work with all these places. And
okay.
I create multiple contracts that way.
Okay, so multiple. It doesn't matter the type of venue. All sorts of venues. If they want music, you work with them to figure it out, get all the details in.
Entertainment as well, though.
Okay,
it's
all
also
forms.
comedians.
Okay.
Like.
Okay, cool.
I even work with the folks that Eat the Fire and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it depends what they want, but ultimately I make sure that people are getting paid well.
Okay.
And that the ROI is substantial enough for the restaurant.
Yeah.
That they can keep this event going.
Yeah.
Because
you want them to come back, right? Yeah, yeah.
Basically, my point is that I want to create a world in my fantasy world. I would love to create a world where people don't see arts as a painless commodity. I want musicians and artists alike to be able to be like, you know what, that is actually a path I want to take, and I know I'll make about $50K a year from it. Yeah. Whatever the case may be.
And the more opportunities you're creating, and if they're successful, more restaurants and businesses will do it, which creates more work.
The more people I can hire.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes total sense.
And I work right now with Novotel, the Lord Elgin. I'm getting into talks with Andaz and Chateau Laurier as well. There were some other parties and everything. But ultimately, it's been pretty cohesive of like slowly growing this. Mm-hmm. But I also run about somewhere around 5-6 bands.
That's what I was going to ask you, because you had mentioned that you had band rehearsal and such. So you're also rehearsing with bands and you're managing bands as well, right?
So what I do is I actually create bands. So for an example, if you've heard of Jimmy Buffett, mm-hmm. I made a Jimmy Buffett tribute band. And what I did is me and the singer, we made all the charts and everything. We figured out what the playlist was. And then what my job was I handle all the admin work and arranging all the people, and then I get everybody in the same room. And now the P and Sailing Club has a sail pass every year, and for sail pass we're actually performing. So that band is going to have that performance there, and then we have another one on the 26th.
That's really cool.
But ultimately, what I do is I do everything back end logistically.
Okay.
For everything I do, because I'm a creative person. I always will be. But my thing is that for musicians, they can't all be business folks. And they shouldn't be expected to be.
That's not fair to expect that of
Exactly.
someone. Yeah.
But what I can do is my little...
Very good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. As my little superpower is, for better words, I don't know what else to say.
No, it's good. No.
For my little, for my little part that is my strength is, I'm good at getting from A to Z. What I look for with the people that I play this with. So, for example, the Jimmy Buffett thing. I got a singer doing it with me, and that singer loves Buffett, sings Buffett, knows every tune. It's like paint by colors, is what he says. And I said, okay, if you can handle the music and charts, I'll handle the back of getting everybody assembled. If we can both handle the promo together, then we do that together. And then I do that with like 70 people.
So what you do with them kind of varies based on who you're working with, what they bring to the table. Like you kind of cater it. It's not like one size fit all.
Exactly.
You cater it based on who you're working with,
Yeah.
what they can contribute, what you can do.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And ultimately, what that does for me is it gives me a way to get more people more money. They're not the same folks.
Right.
So, for example, do you know Cassiopeia by chance?
No, I don't. No.
A Japanese fusion band
Okay.
night is what we did. We did a night catered to this particular band.
Okay.
And both me and the guy that we were doing it, he arranged all the charts. All I did was I handled everything in house with like, okay, let's talk to House of Tard. Let's make sure everything's assembled.
Yeah.
That way. Then we had the party go on. We got 110 people in the place. It was great. And considering that, now it's going to be a residency. Who knows if it takes off fully there, but they were really happy with the results, and they want to see it continue there. But what I'm trying to get at is like, without being too repetitive, is like, sometimes I handle the logistic end, sometimes I handle the more creative end. So, but at the end of the day, if I need to take care of the business end to make sure that the musician is able to do their part, then I will do that.
I understand that, and that you're right. You can't expect every person to have that same skill set. So if you're able to provide these particular assistants, let someone else take care of the art, then the next time it's a little bit different.
Well, that's why I hired someone too.
Yeah.
Because if I can't take on every single thing,
Yeah.
I at least have someone to I didn't realize the song. So,
These are all instrumental versions of just like famous songs. Like as a singer, yeah.
Anyways, sorry. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So I hired someone to basically take care of admin, so they're my admin coordinator.
Yeah.
So what that does for me is it allows me to know that things are still getting taken care of, and I can still talk to people, communicate with people, and it allows me to be physically like stable to a point where if I didn't want to work one day, I don't have to. But that being said, I'm still going to work to make sure that things project, because again, we're only technically officially in our first year.
Yeah.
Or going into
year 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because of that, I need to make sure that everything's prosperous that way. At least on the consulting end.
Oh, it's great. Honestly, it's brilliant. I think we need more of that in the arts, frankly. Arts consultants and people to work with artists who just don't have that skill set.
To be honest, I've actually never heard of one.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, to be fair, I've never actually heard of an art consultant or a music consultant.
I've only known one in my entire life, and it's U.S. based.
But that's
like
my
he was
point.
U.S. based, nothing in Canada.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
Nobody's actually going and becoming, because I don't want to say a middleman, because that's not even what I'm doing. I'm just trying to, I guess it kind of is, to be frank, but to be honest with you, I know there's a lot of people that are super talented and uber hardworking here, to a point where it almost pains me to see that they're not able to get work.
It really sucks, really, and like what I love about what you're talking about is it's music, but you've also got all other forms of entertainment. Like someone who's a busker or a comedian or something, and they have a hard time breaking in.
these sorts of events are perfect for them.
And that's
Because someone will see them somewhere, and then suddenly they get more work, and they get more work. Yeah.
And my point too is that I also send emails on behalf of some of these
Yeah.
artists. So if I know I'm already working with somebody, then I go, hey, this person's amazing, put them in, and they trust me enough to do so. It's already done. They already have a gig. They already have a contract now.
Yeah.
And my big thing too is basically I'm trying to create a way that other than having a government job is sustainable in Ottawa too.
Which is important, because that's something I've heard from multiple artists when I've talked to them.
Sure.
Is they're sick and tired of everyone always having to leave Ottawa in order to make it in the arts. So the more consultants like you, the more organizations that are dedicated to doing that, the better. Because you can have even multiple gigs and you can make a living here, and you don't have to work one type of job.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately sad to see, but a lot of folks here can be a little individualistic.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I know that can be generically put to any city, to
Sure.
be honest, but I find it so troubling here sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, even Chateau Laurier. I was working with, there's this company that basically operates the music for that. They're an entertainment group. And they had never been to Ottawa. They only got it because they knew the Fairmont folks in Toronto.
Right.
So they trickled over here,
Yeah.
got the Chateau Laurier, that got them enough juice to go over to the States. And in more prosperous places like Puerto Rico and everything that way.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, great tactic. But what that does is that they've only put a handful of folks.
Yeah.
And so what that does is it's creating a very huge pinpoint to Ottawa. Chateau Laurier is a huge trademark in causing them not to have music like that. Or if they're going to have music, it's only DJ. And don't get me wrong, DJs are fine, but not to a demo of 60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
So I told them, hey, you should come to Ottawa one time and really see what you're talking about. Because I had been trying to deal with them for over 2 months. They put their money where their mouths were. They came here.
Oh, they did? Okay.
They
Wow,
came
good
over.
for them.
They had a meeting with me the exact same day, the day after they arrived.
Yeah.
Told me I was right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say I'm the righteous one here.
No,
or
but-
anything, but it's like,
That was the right thing to do.
but ultimately,
Yeah.
no, not to be too whirlwinded about this. I know we only got so much time.
No, it's okay. I'm just checking our level stuff. Yeah.
But ultimately, to get to the point of what I'm saying is like, a lot of outside folks think they know Ottawa and they don't.
And they don't. No.
And then they think, like, because they were even thinking about moving over their contract, not moving it over, but getting an extension, another contract with Lord Elgin.
Mm.
They're like, well, that doesn't make sense because it's right beside each other.
Right.
I'm like, you don't know Ottawa then.
not that.
Because Lord Elgin has its own crowd,
Yeah.
Chateau Laurier has its own
Right.
crowd.
Right.
So anyways, long story short, they came over. Now I'm getting possibly some commission work with them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be basically helping them, but also
Yeah.
helping musicians.
Yeah.
So I told them if we were going to work together, they need to use my roster of folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's as simple as that. And that ends up being most of the scene here anyways.
Yeah.
But it's people
But
that-
you've got to do that, right? You got to do right by your artists that you have, and by making that clear to them, like, yes, but we're going to use my artist list. That's great.
But it's
that's
not
a great way to
But
do
I
it.
want to be very clear though. When I say my artist list, it's my Ottawa folks.
Yeah. Of course.
But what I mean by that
Yeah.
more specifically is that they will take sometimes folks that tour and put them in big places.
Right.
They don't necessarily take folks from Ottawa,
Yeah.
quote unquote, but they don't actually take folks that are trying to make a living here.
You're looking at propping up the artists that are here, living here, trying to make a living here, right? Like, is that right to say they're working artists right here in Ottawa?
Here in the Ottawa Valley,
Yeah.
That's my point more so.
Yeah.
Because if we can do that, it creates a salary for them.
Yes. Yeah.
And hopefully my actual goal specifically is to actually end up hiring these folks, give them insurance, give them something that they can use.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, with my employee right now, she doesn't make the biggest salary. I think it's somewhere around 20 to 22 an hour.
Right.
But she has paid vacation,
Yeah.
paid sick leave, and I'm getting her insurance right now.
And you have to start somewhere, right?
And I know that's
you know.
very bare minimum, but
But for being around for 1 year though, that's pretty good. I know lots of startups that it takes 3 or 4 years to get to that level. The fact that you were able to hire someone and give them some sense of security, obviously it's going to grow over time, but I think that's really impressive.
I appreciate it. But impressive or not, I just want to make sure that whoever's working for me or working with me
Yeah.
is taken care of.
Yes, I
Because
understand.
at the end of the day, I'm not expecting to always be in the green, but I am expecting to at least do something that's going to change folks, you know, and change folks' lives, but also help them out and make sure that they're good, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. Anyways, without sounding too sappy.
No, it's admirable. It's good. It's clearly your passion. I am really impressed that in a year and a half you were able to get to this point.
Well,
Because I'm just thinking back of where we were, even when last time you and I talked. You've come so far with this.
Appreciate it, man. It honestly feels like 6-7 years.
It's crazy. It's wild
it's fast
how
how
everything goes. I know.
Like even to say that I worked somewhere full time like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
kind of surreal to be honest. And to be honest, the reason it's progressed the way it's progressed is because I did as many business model canvases as I could do.
Yeah.
I tried to figure out what an MVP really was to me. You know, I've been trying so many different types of businesses for the last 6-7 years, even before COVID. And the biggest thing I realized was every business I did wasn't something I liked fully.
Yeah.
It was things that I liked doing as a hobby.
Sure.
But it wasn't things that I was actually very passionate about.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I want to do music, but I don't want it to be a commodity for me. So I said, okay, how do I mend the two but don't take music away from me fully? Because I want to still enjoy playing music and I want to still have fun with it, you know? So I did what anybody insane would do. I fused the two anyways.
Yeah. You ignored everything you just said and pushed forward.
No, that's exactly. But you know what though? It makes it fun for me because the fact that I'm sitting here, telling you that I'm going to be possibly putting on a fucking, putting on a SpongeBob DJ bash in October is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
It's so awesome that I'm going to get money from that. That's great.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. There's going to be good days, bad days. But
Well, of course, with anything, especially as you grow it, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be great days, there's going to be moments where you're like, what am I doing? But the passion's there, and you come a long way in a year and a half, and yeah, I think that surreal feeling is kind of understandable. It is kind of surreal to be able to say that here you are doing this.
I will say, though, too, is that, the fact that because for most musicians and most arts folks, January to March is probably the lightest time.
Okay, yeah.
That was the heaviest time for me.
Wow. Because of planning? Because of setting things up? Is that... Because you have to work several months in advance, right? To book everything in.
I'll put it to you this way. For the rest of the year, up until February of next year, right now, I have 100 proposals that I can submit.
Wow.
The reason I do that is because I want to know what I'm doing.
Okay.
But also, if I don't plan for next year, I'm already starting to plan for March, April, May next year.
Yeah.
If I don't have that already in my books, and I can't expand on other stuff too, my business will go under.
How long would you say, just on average, do you need to put an event together? If a restaurant was is this
a month?
A month, okay. You can do it in a shorter period of time, depending upon the needs.
But if we want to have things in a particular place, like for example, if the place is we need 200 people in the door,
right?
I'm not doing it in a month,
right?
And that just has to be something like it doesn't matter how many people are in the city. You have to make sure that every marketing point is made.
Yeah.
It also, that being said, the marketing also is and again, I have lots to learn about marketing. But what I've noticed with marketing is that if you have a good product, marketing is easier, I should say.
Yeah, for sure.
And, that's what happened with the Japanese fusion night thing. I thought we were only I'm going to be honest, I thought we were only going to get 30, 40 people. In my mind, I went, we're going to get more than 50, 60 people.
Yeah.
We ended up getting 110 people.
That's great.
On a Blues Fest day, on a Thursday.
Yeah.
We did pretty okay.
Yeah.
And considering the fact. And also with the Jimmy Buffett thing. before I could even say anything to folks, I said I might be putting on a Jimmy Buffett tribute. The first thing that I heard from some venues was, as soon as you started, let me know.
Yeah.
I said, okay, no problem.
They're interested from the beginning. Yeah.
So I've started to notice that, yes, I will put on things I really like, and those end up doing the best because it's things that people to relate to here.
Yeah.
I grew not that I grew up with Jimmy Buffett, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. My aunt was a sailor. She still is. She still does that stuff.
Yeah.
And I grew up listening to Buffett when I went in her car and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they love this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I like this stuff too. I don't mind cheeseburgers in paradise.
Yeah.
Margaritaville and everything. That's cool. So I said, why not? So even Cassiopeia, I grew up on that stuff because for some reason my uncle, he went to Japan at one point and he came back and he just loved Cassiopeia because he's a saxophonist and a musician himself. So he's like, oh, I love these guys, whatever. He showed me the records, and I got locked in with Mint Jams and what was it, Ancient Dreamer? I think that's the thing. Anyways, there's a bunch of albums from them that I really like. But ultimately, I realized that I'm kind of most likely the average Ontarian here.
Right.
Or not Ontarian, Ottawan, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Ottawa person. So we all kind of listen to similar stuff.
Right.
Obviously, there's discrepancies.
Sure, of course.
But we all listen to a lot of similar things.
But you grew up in the area. You spent time here, not only in your youth, but now as an adult working. Like you've been working in this community. You have a sense of it. You probably would get to know it in a way that a lot of others might not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't go. If I went to Montreal right now, I couldn't tell you the first thing to do to start. But because I'm here, I sit to myself. I'm like, okay, because I'm going to be frank. Even during COVID, when COVID happened, I was doing session work online for a bunch of folks in different parts of the world. Right?
Yeah.
It's cool. I was, that was the first thing I did. I was like, okay, let me see if I can hit up some Instagram people and whatever on Spotify. And I ended up racking up like 3-4 million streams of myself on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
It's great. But I said to myself, okay, that's cool. I can do that. I know I can do that. That's great. It's a great asset to know I have. But what does that do for me here? Not much.
No.
What does it do if I went to... Because I had been thinking about it for a while. What if I go to Montreal?
Yeah.
I could easily just drop everything, go. Is that really something that's going to help me in the long game that I can't just do later?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's a weird way to put it. I guess my big point is, like, I'm not trying to move because I'm comfortable in Ottawa. I'm not trying to move because Ottawa has so much ability to prosper.
Yeah.
That
there's growth potential here.
There's we're not even at 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Or if we are, we just got there.
Yeah.
We're not going to hit 2 million for another year. Even. So because of that, there's so much room for us to hit 4 million in 5 years. So that means that there's a lot of room for growth for me to be able to.
Totally.
So once I have that oiled engine here, I can then move it later.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to do with those. No offense, but I'm not going to do with those entertainment folks that just basically buy property almost.
And is that like Montreal, just as an example? Is that because of its rich culture scene? Like, is Montreal one of the places in Canada where the culture scene is already thriving?
That's not the full reason. To be honest, I wouldn't even go to Montreal first. I'd probably go to Edmonton.
Edmonton.
The biggest reason is because it's similar to Ottawa in the sense where it's always growing. It doesn't have the same marketable, it doesn't have the same financial security, but because, like with trading and everything, who knows when things drop.
It always changes.
That being said, though, they have a huge scene there that's trying to branch out as well.
Yeah.
Very similar to Ottawa. So I wouldn't know Edmonton like that, but I might have a decent sense of understanding what Edmonton could do.
But as an entrepreneur, you're more drawn to the places where you see growth, right? Like is it right to say you're very comfortable doing your own thing, growing in a new community, getting to know it, and like bringing what you have to the table?
I would rather do that than blindly go into
someone else's stuff. You'd rather do your own thing than someone else's stuff.
I'm not going to bring Ottawa musicians in Edmonton. I'm going to help Edmonton musicians in
up there. Yeah.
And I'm going to understand what their needs are. And if they already have someone doing that stuff, that's great. I will help that person out.
Yeah.
But my point is more to help folks in Canada.
Yeah.
You know, that's the ultimate point. But
And step one is where you are right now. You're in Ottawa.
if I don't help out Ottawa, I can't help anybody.
That's right.
So
Yeah. So it's a
And-
good
yeah.
place to start.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that being said, too, is that like my genuine goal as a musician, I would love to be a touring musician. I would love to be going out and playing and shit. You know, that'd be super awesome. It would feel even more surreal.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I love playing my own music somewhere and just touring and whatever. That'd be great. The only way I could see that happening though is if I had $200,000 to spend right now, or I tap into companies.
Right.
So this is where it comes in that the consulting is one thing.
Yeah.
I also help out. I'm going to be officially the director of operations with Hotshot.
Yeah. Which is really cool, like getting into sort of the film side of it. I mean, they do other things too, but film is such an interesting kind of thing, and music connects to film really well. Like that's a really good thing. I guess like you knew Ben through Youth Ottawa? Like is that the connection there? Yeah.
Isn't that the funniest part?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's literally where we're all kind of boils down to.
Yeah. Youth Ottawa, here to connect everyone. Because we all wouldn't have met without Youth Ottawa.
No, seriously, it's the funniest thing. No, shout out to Jesse, seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it's hilarious to say that because, you know, when Ben when everything happened with Youth Ottawa between Hotshot and them, and then Ben started doing his own thing on his own.
Yeah.
You know, we chatted and I ended up, you know, kind of helping him out in the back end and everything. And I was like, okay, let's get this going. I don't know everything, but do you think this makes sense, Ben? And he goes, sure. Let's try whatever.
Yeah.
And not because of that, but in I guess in addition to that, we've done super awesome things in regards to what we're putting on now and everything that way. Everything we've done with 12 Tales and everything that with you guys, we actually are now we have the approval and the official agreement to have the funding for Bell 5.
Yeah.
So
which is awesome.
That's a surreal moment.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be putting on a TV series. It's great. So, and we're having the funding for it. It's going well. We're starting to record everything now. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to be even helping with that. Because on top of that,
like that. So here you are, a music consultant. You get into video production that leads to a TV series production, and now so you're working with Hotshot. You've got your own consulting. You're making music and producing music and managing music on the side. I mean, it's all arts, so it all connects. But I do think it's a rare individual who dips into all these various art forms. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, to be honest, I like art in general.
Yeah.
I think every single type of art form needs to collaborate with one another.
Oh, I agree.
In order to create some form of, I was going to say convection, but that's maybe not the word. In order for Ottawa to have an identity, it has to have a mutual feeling of the artists around it. So if we're all feeling the same thing, it's just we're expressing it in different ways. That's one way to put it. But if we can get the community saying, hey, we need this going on, that's kind of my point. That's why I get with the film stuff. That's why I'm getting with certain scenes of rappers and everything. Like, I could call up at least 100 musicians right now. And they could be everybody from R&B singers to rappers to soul guys. I'm still working on it. Thank you so much. Also, if you want to go get more stuff.
I'm good.
Okay. Because for me, I'm probably going to need more. But
well, then when you go up, I might grab something else too.
Okay, sounds good. But
I've got time. I've got a little bit of time. I'm good.
Sure. But ultimately, I was going to say, it's surreal, but ultimately, I'm doing it for. It's so weird. I don't want to sound too much like a third cycle.
That's okay.
But ultimately, everything from visual arts to pottery to whatever, it all has some form of connection, and that needs to be showcased more in my opinion. The only way I know is through the things I do first.
Yeah.
And then I can branch out. I'm not a huge film fanatic as much as Ben is.
Yeah.
By any means, but I grew up wanting to do film. On my bucket list, I wanted to be a part of producing something. You know what I mean?
Because music's always been part of you, like since you were young.
Funny
like,
enough, not really.
No, really. Okay. So when it comes, so film was an earlier love as a younger, and then
It was
music
visual.
came later.
So my nonno he was a painter.
Okay.
He worked in Italy and then he moved over to France because there was no work anymore.
Mm.
He was in the war basically,
Okay.
and he wanted to move away from all the fascism and stuff and all the mafioso stuff going on. So he went to France, and he lived in a commune between Germany and France. And he was a painter in Strasbourg, Metz, and stuff like that. He did that for quite a few years until he had my mom and my aunts and uncle.
Yeah.
My aunt, and then they moved here to Canada. And then he still did commercial painting as well as like actual artistry painting, like murals and stuff in people's houses.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And that was actually my first art. So my first art was visual art.
Visual art. So it was
Because-
visual arts in the beginning. Wow.
Yeah, that was what my nonno and my grandfather taught me because I don't know if it's actually me being dyslexic or not, but I can't read very well. And the biggest thing too is I had a lot of speech. I actually had a speech impediment. I had a stutter going on, a stammer, and I couldn't explain myself properly. So he told me, explain yourself through in Italian. He said it, but in English. Explain yourself through your art.
Yeah.
So don't give it up, everything that way. He passed away when I was about 10 years old.
Yeah.
And it kind of carried with me. My uncle did the same thing with me. He started pushing certain cool things. And ultimately, yeah, that's the only way I had STEM of art growing up. And then it wasn't until I was about 14 that I actually got into music a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't even play saxophone until 16.
16. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a late bloomer.
So you were a late bloomer. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was interesting that you found art was a way for you to communicate when you otherwise were having challenges communicating, but art became that piece for you. Like that's really, really neat. That's a cool story.
Well, funny enough, it wasn't until recently that I was able to actually explain myself.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that I never had the formal, like, I went through the average schooling here, but I had to do I couldn't take tests properly.
Yeah.
Like, actually had to ask my teachers, like, can I take the test verbally? Because I wouldn't have gotten out of school otherwise. But it's not that I'm no genius or nothing, but ever since I started asking for assistance through high school, I was getting 80s and 90s that way. I went from like 65, 70 average to like 89, 90 average by the end of my school year.
Yeah.
And even through university, I would ask teachers because, to be honest, I couldn't read nothing on those words. So, yeah, sorry, this is the board. Yeah.
We're good.
Anyways, I was just gonna say, long story short, I couldn't read nothing on the boards, so I would actually ask the professors. I would go, hey, let me bring you some Boscali or something. Can you help me out with this? And from that point forward, that made me realize that also that nobody's gonna do nothing for me. So with the music as an example, I started at 16, 17, right? I spent 8 hours a day up until I graduated, every single day. For the entire 2 years, like grade 11, grade 12, I was just, grade 10 to, 15, 16, But anyways, that whole time period from grade 10 to grade 12, I used 8 hours a day, every single day for music. Just practicing.
Yeah, just practicing.
Just trying to get better.
Yeah.
So ultimately what I'm trying to say is I'm not very smart, but I'm a hard worker. And a lot of what my uncles and my family have taught me over the past years is work smarter, not harder. Work to your abilities. Learn how to work harder first, though, and then understand what other leeways, because it allows you to help with problem solving. So that's what I did, and so I took some business courses at the university. Again, to the best of my abilities because of my illiteracy and everything. And yeah, that made me realize I actually like doing business.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I like speaking and stuff.
Yeah,
It's kind of fun. I like to speak with folks, get to know folks and everything. So I was like,
it was a natural thing you just didn't consider yet until later.
Well, to be honest, COVID really hit me hard at first.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be making almost 10, 12K that summer.
Right.
And to me that was a lot of money at the time. I was like, wow, that would have been great. I made zero from that. So I said, okay, what do I got to do? Then I started talking to folks online or whatever, doing session work for the whole year and a bit. And then by 2021-ish, I started working at Central Precast. It's a stone and interlock company.
Yeah.
I was a sales rep there.
Okay.
So I did that for half a year. I found that I was actually pretty good at sales that way. Because I was like, well, let me just take my experience that way through university and trickle it down. I went from selling like maybe 5,000 a day of interlock to selling about 20 on average, 20 to 30 to 50,000 a day.
Wow.
And I was working there 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And I'd work there from probably 7:30 in the morning till about 5 at night.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is that allowed me to understand. Okay, maybe my route is sales.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm okay at selling things.
Yeah.
So from that point forward, when I got into Youth Ottawa, when I got into different things, I was like, maybe I know how to do all this stuff. And then the confidence came in a little bit.
Well, sales, business management, event management, it's all very close. I think it's very, very close. Similar skill sets. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I was almost trying to rush getting into where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I needed all that stuff.
Yeah.
And as much as I was annoyed that like by 25 I didn't have this yet, I had made all these plans for myself at 25. I was like, I want to get this done, I want to get that done, whatever. And now being 26 and realizing that like I need at least another little bit. But you know what? I kind of look at it kind of like Matthew McConaughey. I'm always looking at myself 10 years ahead or 5 years ahead or whatever the point is.
Well, and I think that makes sense. You want to plan ahead. I think that's important. But I like that approach.
Well, it's not necessarily planning ahead. I would say it's more being excited for myself in 5 years.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not necessarily
like of the possibilities that are there.
No, being excited for myself that I know I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Everyone will, and there's always points. I will go through hardship, everyone will. There's a point of type of hardship that everybody will go through. It'll be differently for everybody.
Of course.
But I'm still excited for that point.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the journey. I'm excited about the journey. I'm not necessarily excited about the end point. Because the end point is going to happen.
1,000 Meals with 1,000 Artists is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. Produced by Mike Shepard and Zach Porter. Edited by Zach Porter. Original music by Savannah Shea. Thank you to this week's artists and the local restaurants who host us. For more on 1,000 Meals with 1,000 Artists and Soul One, please visit soulonearts.ca. If you're an artist, feel free to reach out to us on our website and connect for your own meal. Thank you for listening.